Wow, that was some beginning.
Nobody knows. You're literally doing stuff. I'm counting down the counter. I go, okay, 3, 2,
I
1.
forgot to plug my microphone in. Does that sound all right? Can someone give me a heads up real quick and let me know? That would be awesome. And then my light went out. Oh my gosh, good grief. And I didn't start for the podcast for Jake either. This is sometimes a well-oiled machine.
I mean, maybe this is why this is the last episode of season 5.
Yeah, I love all the memes of like what people's stuff looks like in the beginning of the year as opposed to in the end of the year. All right, so I'm going to start it right here because I just hit record for. So if you don't know, you can get this as a podcast, but I'll talk about that in a second. My goodness, what a week it has been. It was actually like a really good week in many, many ways where I had really great conversations with some really great people at my school as we were proctoring the Keystone exam. So you're not allowed to do anything when you do that. You can't go on your computer. You're not supposed to be on your phone. But luckily, I got in with 2 really great people that I work with, and it was fun. So one of the things I'm thinking about this week before we get into your questions and the intro and all that stuff is I'm really thinking about capability versus capacity this week. Capability being, am I capable of doing something? Do I have what it takes to do something? Versus, do I have the capacity to do that? So I was talking about this with some folks this week and kind of came out of that. It's like in different seasons of your life, you have different levels of capacity, right? So right now I know that there's only so much that I can do. I know that there's only so much I can do in a day. So whereas in seasons past, I've been able to work late into the night and still get up early in the morning and still do my thing. And now I can't. Like I have a hard cutoff at night when I don't do any work anymore. I won't entertain conversations even with my wife about certain things, about problems, about school, it's like, nope, there's a hard cutoff at 8 p.m. That stuff's done because I usually go to bed, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock is when I begin the process anyway. Dog, you got to go out right now. Of course you do. This is how we roll. Mm-hmm. And this is what happens when your studio's at your house. So it's just being mindful of that, being mindful of what your capacity is and not saying yes to everything because you know your capacity is there. I was listening to a podcast this week with a guy, I'm going to forget his name. He wrote a book for entrepreneurs called Traction. And he said one of his like core principles is to know your 100%. And so what that means is if I know exactly how much I can work in a week, in a day, in a year, and if I go short on that, I feel like I didn't do anything. And if I go 1 hour more than that, I feel like I'm completely burnt out. So it's having this sense, this true idea of like, what is your 100%? And then doing that. Because when we go over, it is just as bad as going under, if not, right? It's like when you oversleep, it's just as bad as like not sleeping enough because it messes with your head. And I know for me anyway, it makes me lazy and stuff like that. So, yeah. So I just want to now, I just really like my outfit today too, because I look like Yard Work Reynolds, which is who I am. Got my first sunburn yesterday. Anyway, that's not interesting to anyone. What is interesting is that this is Sunday night teacher talk. And what we do here is 1 p.m. every 1 p.m. Eastern time on every Sunday as we show up and we try and create a space that's a safe space for teachers to connect, for teachers to ask questions, to answer questions, to be a part of a community. So that's what we're doing. You can ask anything under the sun. I'm more than happy to answer anything. And just as a caveat on the front end, we run this thing by seasons. And this is season 5. This is the last episode of season 5, right? So because it's the end of the year for many of you are done, we are taking June off well, it's kind of sort of, because there's still going to be videos that come out. And the second half, like as soon as school's done, it is game
Well, this is a good segue. Let me help you. Jacob Ingram is asking, how many more days does everyone have before summer? So I find this to be a really great, interesting. This is always interesting to me because we're on the, I don't know if people realize, the East Coast, it gets out the latest out of the United States. We're like the end.
Yeah.
So I'm looking in the comments and everyone's like, one more week left with students, 2 to like do random stuff or whatever. Or some people are like, we have 3 days left. We have 2 days. This is the last week. It's so interesting. Marley just asked me today. She says, when does summer break like actually start for kids around our area? She forgets and she's homeschooled, but they don't end for like another month here. Like when everyone's asking how many days are left, it's like, no, we literally have like, and it's, it's busy stuff at the end of the year, but we go till mid-June.
June 14th is my last day.
East Coast
June 14th.
Yeah, so we still have a minute.
That's the longest I've gone in a long time, though. Like,
no, it's usually around then because my birthday's always like,
it's right you're before. Forgetting. Listen, regular people time, an extra week here, give or take, isn't much. Teacher time, an extra week is like dog years.
Yes.
So it's like 7 weeks of regular people time. So we're done June 14th. We used to get done the first week of June.
Oh, Laura Campion says June 14th is her last day too.
Yeah.
Tracy Pinter says June 8th is hers. Zoe. Oh, look, I got it right for the first time. She says they have 35 days left.
At least she knows 35 days.
She's in the UK.
Not a little over a month. No, it's the specificity that teachers like. There's like, I have 35 days, 4 hours, and 3 minutes left.
Right. All right. Do you want an actual question?
I do. Let's rock into it.
All right. Let's see. I'm sorry.
I actually made a video the other day that's going to come out hopefully this week. That is when you have those odd bits of time, whether it's a period, an hour, a day, that like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
So I made a video on like 5 things that you can do during that time.
All right. Well, our first question comes from John Lopez. He's asking, Rap With Reynolds, how have you thought about entering your classroom singing "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood" and changing from dress shoes to tennis shoes?
Lopez, it's not have I thought of that. It's to the extent at which I've thought of doing that. My students do not know who Mr. Rogers is. I had this. I like this. Here you go. This is fun when you can just bust things out. I had a viewer send me this one time, and the frame broke. That's why it's behind the picture. But I had this in my classroom for years, and kids used to go, "Yo, is that your dad, Reynolds?" I'm sorry. You mean Mr. Feeney, the greatest fictional teacher of all time? On arguably one of the greatest TV shows of all time. Definitely the TV show that has meant the most to me in my whole life. They had no idea. And I have all this Mr. Rogers stuff. So Lopez sent me like the children's book of Mr. Rogers. I have a couple of these things around, and you push it.
I like to think of all kinds of helpers in our world.
This is Birdie's favorite toy in our house.
When he needs a little motivation, he just pushes it. Lopez gave me this too.
Oh, she did.
Yeah. So, it's kids are just like, who's that man holding a train? I mean, who's that man holding a train? You mean the father that none of us ever had, Mr. Rogers?
And it's a trolley?
Yeah, that takes you to the land of make-believe. Bro, get your life together. So,
all right, are you ready?
I am.
Next question.
Lay it on me.
It's going back to Jacob. He's actually asking, I had students this year not using the time at the start of class to write the journal prompt. Instead, students did them all by the end of the week before I graded it. How should I handle this next year?
So I think there's 2 things. One, it's worth asking yourself if students should be allowed to do stuff when it feels right to them, right? So like, when do they want to do it? The problem is the quality of work goes down drastically. The other problem is if we have something else they should be doing during that time, now you're on third base talking about first base. Why are we talking about first base? We're on third base now. Like, we already left first base, and don't even bring up second base because we're not even going there. We're here now. So that becomes a problem. If it's not a problem, then maybe it's all right. Maybe it's all right that kids are doing that, finding their own way in life. It's like, that's kind of a little bit more of how college is and work is in a lot of ways. if you really want them to be able to do it, then one of the ways I do it, and this will all come out this summer when we start putting out resources, I'm going to put out a packet of I don't know how many journal entries, but a lot of them, they're already made. So you don't have to feel the stare coming from you. They're already made, and it's like the question, the lines underneath, and then how many sentences minimum I need from it. What I do now is, and I have a co-teacher, but you could even do this if you didn't have a co-teacher. So I go from that to some sort of independent practice afterwards, or something that's led by my co-teacher. While we're either doing the independent practice or my co-teacher is teaching, I simply go through them real quick and I just grade them on that day. So I time it. You only have 5 minutes, or sometimes it's a little bit longer than that if I see like some questions take kids a long time to kind of pick up on, to think about, to realize what they want to do. Is the dog outside?
Oh, yeah.
Panting. It is. I was wondering why.
He didn't go out there to invent it. He just went out there to sit in the sun.
I was just chilling. Then he realized it was 96 degrees outside, and he said no. So we are. So like, I want kids to like use the time. So I set a timer. I time them, and at the end of that, I have someone collect it, and that person is told to be ruthless. I want my papers back, and so. And this is never meant, right? Let me just say this in case you don't know me that well. This is never meant to like necessarily like force a kid's hand or stifle their voice, or it's like, it is meant to say, hey, look, we only have 5 minutes to do this. And if you're having a hard time focusing, this helps you focus. I put a big giant timer on my board. You do it during the timer, and then I collect the papers. Now, if I see someone needs a little bit of extra time, if I see that they were working, if I see that took them a minute to like get focused, or like there's all that stuff to take into account. I'm just saying, like, what this also does is it stops kids from coming late to my class. If you come late, you missed out on it. We are not going back, and you're not going to make it up, because unless, again, someone shows up late to your class, they had a legitimate issue, they were trying to do something, something happened, whatever. But we all know who the kids who are like habitually late to class and then show up without a pass and stuff like that. Well, now you just lost the opportunity to do this work. We moved on to the next thing. Focus your efforts there. So that's kind of how I roll with that. And then grading it every day allows me to, when I hand it back the next day, they didn't forget about it. It's a current reminder of, yo, you only have this much time, and this is what we're doing right now. And I think that that's a good practice for kids to get into, because if left to their own devices, many students won't do any work or won't get it done. Setting the timer isn't a way to like, I'm not trying to build anxiety in students. What I'm trying to do is just remind kids that like, hey, this is the time that you have. And being mindful of the time that you have is really, really important. I don't know what you did to my desk there, bro, but
I didn't do anything to your desk.
Twisted.
Don't blame me. All right, Jake is up next, and he's asking, if you could wave a magic wand and make everyone want to read one book, what would it be?
No,
so
I'm not gonna lie. I peeped this question before we came on real quick.
Oh.
I don't know what that answer is, because I think different kids need different books. So I'll say this. I read Walden when I was probably 20 of my own volition, right? Thank God I didn't have to read that book in high school. It was so deeply impactful to me that I tried to do some of that with students when I started teaching, and they were just like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Why would I ever want to live in a cabin in the woods with nothing? Like, which is exactly what my wife thought when I read that also. It is I had a friend also try and teach Into the Wild, which is a book by John Krakauer. It was single-handedly the most influential book in my life that I ever read. And so at the time anyway, that book, when I read it, is about this young man who like goes on a journey to kind of find himself, like burns all of his money. And I remember we got to the part, or the guy that I was teaching with, Mr. Manskoff in Camden Academy High School, Manskoff was teaching this, and they got to that part. And the kids were like, why the hell would you ever burn money? That's so dumb. Like, and what I didn't realize was that coming from where I came from in life, this made sense to me, right? Like downward mobility on a level at a season of my life made sense to me. My kids were coming from nothing and trying to get something. There was no way they were going to be able to identify with something like that, right? Because that was like that's like absurd to them. So what I would say is it's really more to me about trying to find books for kids to read. Now, look, there are some classics that hit all the time, right? So like if it's, I don't know, whatever we're reading in school, like I remember like Siddhartha, like hit a lot of kids, or, oh gosh, now I'm blanking. I have COVID brain. It's like there's certain things, books that have like been hits over the years, but by and large, you just don't know what book is going to hit a kid, so it's creating opportunity for that.
Okay, so if you were going to answer for an adult version, if you could wave a magic wand and make everyone want to read one book, what would it be? Chris Carson he has an opinion on what you would say, and you are failing right now.
What did he say? The Bible?
Gosh, no. He said he thought you were going to mention your own book.
I'll be honest with you. I think every teacher should read my book. And maybe you read it and it's not for you because there's no silver bullets in education, but like maybe it is. I would say I'm going to go OG. I'm going to say I Feel Great and You Will Too by Pat Croce. That book I've read every single year for the last 20 some years. And every single time I read, I'm like, damn, this is good, man.
There you go, Jake. That's the real answer right there. What is it called? Pat Croce's?
I Feel Great and You Will Too by Pat Croce, former owner of the Philadelphia 76ers, back when I didn't even watch basketball.
All right.
I still don't watch basketball.
She's saying, hi, Reynolds and Not So Secret Wife. Hello.
Hello.
Are you planning any grand exit from school this year? I don't believe that you are planning on going out without a bang.
So that's interesting. What I've been trying to think of is moments, right? So not even just lessons, it's moments that seem more doable to me. So go ahead.
I think the reality is that and people don't know the extent of what's happening at your school. Yeah. And so if you knew the extent of what's happening, like there isn't even a possibility for a grand like exit or anything.
There is. Like, do you have?
Yeah, but I don't even know. You
go ahead.
You get pushed down by your admin so much every time you do anything.
Literally everything.
Like, even to plan something, it's like even that will get hit with opposition. So it's it's hard when you've had the year that you've had to want to end fun.
So here's how you do it.
Don't know what
right. So instead of thinking like a big production, it's how do we create moments for students.
Right.
So we went on a class trip, really great class trip last week to an escape room in Philadelphia. And then we went to South Street afterwards and everyone got cheesesteaks and stuff like that. It was a moment. There was a day where like the other Laura on here gave me a bubble blower, like a bubble making machine that I hooked up in my classroom and we played it like intermittently throughout the class. So there was a dance party recently with lights and everything else and music, and it was great. There's going to be a pretty big cereal party before the end of the year. There's another class trip that we're taking actually next weekend to go to the Renaissance Fair in Jersey with students. So there are all these things coming up, but they're like moments and not like an enormous, like explosive final kind of thing. Some years I have the capacity to do that, and other years I just am like, I just don't. And so that's knowing yourself, right? It's kind of like I talked about in the beginning. It's knowing your capabilities, what you're able to do, versus like what you're capable of doing. So it's really focusing in on like these moments with kids. And that's fun because it feels doable, right? You can go into your day and figure out, what do I have to give, and then give all of that. Because you're 100% on one day, it's not gonna be your 100% on the next day. So I think that relinquishes people from like having to go baller out at the end of the year.
Our next question is coming from Jason O'Neill. How do you put toxic admin behind you? 7/8 teachers are leaving, and the front office is going out of their way to make everyone uncomfortable, saying it's unprofessional to tell the kids we are leaving.
That's not unprofessional at all. And I'll tell you why, Jason. It's not unprofessional because what you want to do is give kids time to process, is give kids a chance to like talk about their hurt, how they're doing it. So I made a video, state testing this week. So we were done by 1:30 every day, made a lot of videos. I made a video with my friend Sarah about how to tell students that you're leaving. And, you know, gosh, when I think about stuff like that, it's so important for me to have time. So here's how I deal with that is, one, I know my why, and I have to be so clear. I'm really big on clarity these days too, knowing exactly why I'm doing something, knowing exactly what I want the outcome to be, knowing exactly what I'm shooting for. And when you have that level of clarity, it helps you to execute more, and it helps you to not get distracted by what other people are saying or doing, right? It is being independent of the good opinion of other people. And so they, you know, what I usually say to people if they say something to me like that, something's unprofessional or that I shouldn't be doing, which I've gotten an absurd amount this year, like with literally damn near everything I do that's left of center. Like all the good stuff is I just go, yeah, you might be right. And I do what I'm going to do anyway. That's literally what I tell people. I'll acknowledge you. Yeah, you might be right. And then I just do what I'm doing anyway, because I'm focused on, I know what my why is. I know what my outcome is. And then sometimes it's either having that conversation with the folks that are coming down on me, or in real time, like actually doing that, or it's not doing that. It's having a conversation with them in my head where I'm explaining it. And then I'm going to tell you my trick. Then when I do that, I never said this to anyone before. I just imagine they agree with me, and I imagine them agreeing with me. And then I just go on with my day and do this where that's the outcome I want. So I just imagine it's happening. Yeah.
That's what
you can't make toxic people stop being toxic. What you can do is be, to the best of your ability, and I've been better at this sometimes than others, is being so happy in their face, and not as a vindictive thing, right? It's like you're turning up your toxicity. Now I have to turn up the awesome. And so what you're doing that for is to counteract this, right? It's like, the cure has to be stronger than the venom, right? So it's really trying to like tap into your resources, be the most awesome that you can, and kind of drown that stuff out. And I've had great success with that largely in my life. But again, if once you start doing it, because it's like, oh, you're going to be like that, well, watch this, right? Like, it's like, once you're doing it to like be, I don't like, it's like happiness as revenge. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in like
drowning out the criticism.
It's, and I think it's a really good lesson in, this is one of those things where like teaching isn't just about pedagogy. It's about you. How do I look at this as a learning lesson for how do I cope? What do I do? What fills me up? How do I pour more energy into myself so I can pour more energy out? What can I focus on? Like, it's learning things more about yourself and how you can handle things rather than just getting like revenge on someone. I'm really terrible at revenge, by the way. Maybe that's why I steer away from it.
Well, I don't think there's anything. I think you've realized that there's nothing productive.
Well, a lot of people don't care as much as you do, right? Like, people don't care. They don't care that, like,
I think the idea of even revenge is such an immature, like,
idea.
It's people who do revenge to me are just not mature.
Yeah.
Because it's just an immature idea.
But that whole idea of turning the other cheek is so friggin' hard.
It is. It's way like, harder. Or it's not even turning a cheek or a Bible-y thing. Like, to me, it's just like, when you control your emotions and your behavior, that is a sign of maturity. When you don't know how to do that, it's just a straight sign of immaturity. It has nothing to do with faith, anything. To me, it's a very clear line of like, people are mature that do this. People are immature that do this.
Great
Sorry.
answer.
All right, let's go
Yeah.
over to so I had another question on top of that question.
Yeah.
So how do you put toxic admin behind you, like after the summer, after the school year, to not be triggered by that?
Yeah,
like,
that's a great question.
Because there's a lot of people that deal with that. There's a lot of terrible admins in school.
Once I figure it out.
Okay.
So leaving my school this year after dealing with such an unbelievable amount of craziness, which I'll unpack at some point this summer a little bit in a video, but then I think we're gonna do just to give you like a little preview, and this is something we already talked about. I have to look at my wife and say that sometimes, because she'll be like, dude, did you just put something else on our plate? Like, I think we're going to do a Facebook Live, like in our group. So if you go to Facebook and you go to Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk on there,
if you're interested, that's where
it'll be like
divulge a bit more information.
Yeah,
it's
so like
too much to put publicly out on YouTube to live there forever.
And I'm not interested. Even when I put up a video about not coming back to the classroom next year, here's what I'm choosing to do, right? Here's part of the reason you get around that, or the way you get around that. I'm so unbelievably excited about what we're moving into. Like when we start talking about it, I get all fired up for it and stuff, because I know it's going to actually help. I know there's schools out there that just don't have the capabilities or the capacity or the money or whatever. We're just going to make free stuff for you. We're just going to make free stuff that you can use. And then there will be paid things, because, I don't live in my mom's basement. So like, I want to have a particular kind of life, but like, we're looking to create resources to really help teachers. That's so unbelievably exciting to me.
We haven't been able to do that. We've been wanting to do that for so long. So we just are at capacity for time.
100%. There's the capacity. That's the key word of the day. But the flip side of that is, how do I get around moving away from something? I focus on something else. Like, that's like, I don't have to, like, that's part of the healing process, is knowing that I can't fix it. I can't go back in time. I can't change other people. What can I focus on? Because where I put my focus is what expands, right? What I put my focus on is what opens up in front of me. And so do this. Here's an activity real quick, and then I'm going to go into the next question, because I realized we only answered 3 and we've been on here for friggin' half an hour. If you were to close your eyes right now, right? So you can even do this as you're sitting there. This will take 20 seconds. Close your eyes right now and think about, in the room that you're in, how many things in there are, let's say, pick a color. Pink, right? That was a weird color to pick, but we'll go with it anyway.
White.
While your eyes are closed, you're looking around your room and thinking about the things that are in there that are pink. All right. So do that for a second. Try and get as many as you can. And now open your eyes and look around your room and see what's in there that's pink. So the point of this is that there might be a few more pink things in there that you thought. There might be a lot more, depending on what your house looks like, because my wife thinks that you live in a clown house and you have tons of pink things all over the place. Nothing wrong. I love pink. It's like one of my favorite colors.
Pink.
Do we have a lot of pink?
Because I closed my eyes and did it. There's pink pens over there. There's pink on the thing. There's pink on that. There's pink over there. There's pink over there. There's a lot of pink.
Right? So when you're looking for things that are good in your life, it's the same way. And if you're looking for things that suck in your life, it's the same way. Where focus, what is it? My mentor says, where your focus goes, energy flows, right? So when you are looking forward to the thing you want to do, to the thing you're excited about, focus on that. And who cares? I don't care what happens to my admin after that. I pray that it's the greatest ever. I pray they turn it around. It's a great school and the kids have a really great experience. But, so that's kind of how I deal with that, to the best way that I can. What you got? All right. Want me to say we'll answer the next one fast?
No, because it's a 2-part question, so I can't imagine it's going to be quick.
I never answer anything fast anyway.
Janet, Harlow's Happenings, is asking, I'm leaving my current job teaching life skills to middle school to go to my dream job of a SPED learning specialist at another middle school. There is bad blood in my leaving. Should I leave quietly or be completely honest with our charter schools board, especially since the issue is the admin? Whew, this is a great question. Clearly, you're in the same issue.
Yes. I had the same thought, right? When I was decided to leave my school, do I just peace out and this is your bed, lay in it? No. I went and told as many people as that would listen without being gossipy, right? So strategic people that are on the board, that are head of different parts of the school, why I was leaving and what I was concerned about going forward. If you don't do that, you are, I think if you don't do that, you're not leaving the kids in the best possible place for next year, right? Or your friends, right? Like the people, your coworkers that you love and trust and have been there with. So what I find is that sometimes, like the people that I spoke to on the board had no idea stuff was happening, and I try to leave my opinion out of it, right? I'm just reporting, right? When I talk to folks about that, is like a police report. I'm not saying I feel like this or I think this might be happening. No, here are some things that are taking place in the school that I've witnessed that are concerning to me, or that I think you would do well to know about. And 9 times out of 10, folks are like, "What? I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was going on." And it's like, yes, these are things that are going on. I'm just reporting. That puts it on their radar. So then they have to maybe do some deeper dives. They have to take a look again at like who's working for them. I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble. I'm not trying to like rat anybody out necessarily. Like, but what I'm doing is, if education's only ever about students and we have to focus on teachers hardcore so that they can show up hardcore for students, right? Like, so if that's what is important to me and valuable to me, then I want to make sure that the folks that when I leave that are in leadership are know why I'm making this move. This did not come easy for me. So it's, I just think that that's really important. So I think I would pull no punches. I told everything and didn't hold anything back. Like when I did a call with HR, that shit was like 2 hours long at least. And there were still things I didn't even talk about just for the sake of time. But like all those heavy hitter major moments, I made sure that they knew, because I want things to change for my students for next year. So, yeah.
All right. Miss L is up next and asking, need advice with a student that if she doesn't get enough attention or does not do the work, to get rebellious, defiant, and disruptive if called on it, and then sweet but needy again the next lesson.
I think part of this is understanding that kids are kids, right? And that can be an out for some people, right? Some people will say like, answer. Yeah, well, it's like kids are kids, and then they let kids get away with too much, or they coddle. I'm not talking about coddling anyone. I'm not talking about letting them get away with stuff. But the one of the ways, this is actually my therapist brought this up. My therapist said, like, in some ways, kids are kind of like puppies, right? Like if I leave my dog for 15 minutes and I realize I forgot my keys or I forgot something in the house, I had to come back, he greets me at the door the same way that he would greet me if I wasn't there for 5 days. It's like that's just how their brain works, right? Kids will do the same thing. They hate you on Monday because of something that happens. They come in Tuesday, "Hey, Mr. Reynolds, how are you, man?" I'm just like, what is happening? So that part of it is just understanding that like the teenage brain works differently. They're not on the same type time that we're on. A lot of them haven't dealt with a lot of the same trauma, and they're trying to figure out how to navigate and how to control their emotions, right? It doesn't exist all the time. There's all these new changes, all these hormones, all these shifts, all this development happening, like from armpit hair to cognitive development. They are trying to figure it out, right? I think that's worth noting. The other thing is, my students know nobody gets more attention than anybody else. It is as equal as I can possibly make it, right? And I talk about this in my book, and there's also like a really great interview that I did or video that I did with Rafe Esquith, who's one of my heroes in education, where Rafe talks about this idea of 3 different types of students, right? And the real brief version of this is that, like, student, let's say student 1 is the kid that everyone loves to teach because they love school. Kid 3 is the kid that, like you're talking about, it requires, they're almost like a black hole of attention. It's never enough. They always need more. But then when most people spend most of their time dealing with those 2 students, everyone loves this kid because he loves to teach. Everyone loves to teach this kid because she needs to, or teaches this kid a lot because she needs a lot of attention. What happens to the student in the middle? What happens to the kid that flies under the radar and fails the year or doesn't get what they deserve because they're quieter and because they sat there kindly and patiently and softly? So it's letting kids know, like, I hear that you're asking something. I see that you need more attention. I need to get to these several other people and then I'll be back around. So it's not just leaving someone, not just telling them no, but it's like, it's holding a mirror up to what's happening and letting them know when you'll get back to them. That's one strategy. But it's also just, look, I think what I'm learning right now is success in life, deep success. Like, so if we look at the totality of our success in the classroom or in anything that we do, that comes hand in hand with disappointing someone at some point. You can't be all things to all people. They don't need to understand that. Students might not really pick that up, or they might need 1,000 reminders of it, but it's you knowing it. You have to know that what you're doing is right, that the kids that you're helping, so we're helping all 30 children in the classroom. If one of them is taking up 45% of your time, it's like, this isn't healthy. Like, I have other kids to teach. And so I think some of it comes from there.
All right, our next question is coming from Bryn over on Facebook, asking, it's a two-parter, so just bear with me. I'm the new teacher on a 4-teacher team. They brought me in halfway through the year, and I ended teaching sections of subjects instead of having my own homeroom. I have been the exception to everything this year and always kind of the odd man out. I've been offered my position back for next year, but there's a new school and they all have rooms together. I'll be in a portable. How can I not be the odd man out always? I'm struggling to find my place within the team.
This is a wonderful question. Isn't it great when schools call them portables? And it's like, bro, I'm teaching in a trailer.
I was wondering I'm glad you said. I thought it was a trailer because
I taught in a trailer.
But I didn't realize that's what portable meant.
Yeah. Yeah. They try and jazz it up. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Did I love or not love teaching in that
You hated
trailer?
it at first, but it ended up being like the best.
Because I just decided that I'm like, oh, you're going to put me in the trailer? Watch. Because people hated being in the trailers. Hated. The floors were all rotted out. There was holes in it. It was a mess out there. They leaked. The ceilings leaked and stuff like that. Yeah. You had, like, when you had hallway duty, you had to stand outside and it was like freezing ass cold and you're out there like freezing or sweating your ass off. And it was just like, everyone hated it. I'm like, no, we're going to make this the best.
Maisha said she's taught in a portable also.
Yo, we made it. My trailer.
I've never heard it called a portable. I've always ever heard it called a trailer.
No, if the upside to it, I'll get you your question in 1 second, but the upside to it was no one ever came out there. And I talk about this in the book too. We once had a lumber delivery to school. We built an entire stage in my classroom and no one had any idea that it even existed. It was sick. It was so awesome. So anyway,
someone just commented and said, try cottage for a positive spin off
yeah,
portable.
Exactly. It's like when I have
that's a good
old students that like still live in mom's basement. They're like, no, it's my apartment. It's just like, I go, where? It's in my mom's basement, but it's my oh, I see what we're doing. We're trying to jazz it up.
I appreciate that.
You sprinkled some cheese on that hot pocket and tried to make like it was
the cottage might not be
artisan.
The worst scenario.
So look, I'm just saying there's ways to flip it. So here's how you do it. 1, I would get as much clarity this year as to what you're doing next year and letting your school know, like, hey, look, it was fine. I came in halfway through the year. I had to do all these different things. I survived. But next year, I want to be able to go get heavy, deep, and real in class. I want to really be able to have roots somewhere. So like teaching less things, teaching the same thing for a whole year, having the same room for the whole year, like leave me in my trailer all year and like, let me just teach from there. There's so much value in that, right? I think that teachers often think that that's like or and schools too, that's such like a luxury, or that teachers don't really need that. No, you do. There's there is like, what if you lived your life like your kitchen was at one place on your block and your bedroom was at another place, you go somewhere else, you use a bathroom, right? Like, that's like, what? So allowing teachers to be grounded, and that's what it is, being grounded somewhere, allows you to have to think about less things and focus on the stuff that's important. So I would ask for some clarity before next year ever shows up. Like, do it now. Just trying to get some vision around what am I like as I plan this summer. If that's even your gig, but like as I plan this summer, how am I want to be able to start thinking about what I can do, where I can do it, what my year is going to look like, and have some clarity this year going into that. That just doing that is going to allow you to connect with other people more, because you're not going to be moving all over the friggin' place and you're just like, the jack of all trades in your school. The other thing is intentionality. It's invite people into your awesome. It's see if you can get invited, or like invite yourself into someone else's room. Hey, would you mind this Thursday if I came in and sat on your class for just the first 10 minutes? It's inviting people to stuff. So you could wait your whole life to get invited to a party, or you could just have your own party. You know what I mean? Like, who's to say that someone else's party is going to be more awesome than yours anyway? Like, we throw the best parties of anyone we know, aside from Diddy. But like,
I don't know. Donovan can beat us.
I'm just saying.
Donovan can give us a run for his money.
Maybe.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, maybe, but all right. Way to shoot down my dreams.
Sorry.
So that's some of it also. And then look, just by virtue of being there for an extended period of time, like, you just start to get to know people. I know, look, when I first started teaching, I wanted to know everyone. Even in my first handful of years, I was like, every new teacher, oh, I want to be friends with you. Then what I started finding was I had to start being strategic with that, because too many people in my school, or in the schools I've worked in, quit after the first year, quit midway through the year. And I was making friends and putting all this time and effort. I was watering plants that were going to die. That's all I was doing. And so what I've learned now is I'm far more strategic with that. And there are some people that like I don't talk to the first whole year. I didn't think they were going to make it. And then they come back that second year. And I'm just like, hey, look, I apologize. Like, I didn't talk to you all last year, but I didn't think you were going to stay. So glad you're here. And like, I'd like to rectify that this year. So it's that level of intentionality too, of like being mindful of like, who do you even want to be cool with in the school, right? Like, I'm not just taking anything. I want to be cool with the people that are getting after it, that are excited, that love coming to work, that are about this, that are working through their problems, that are working as a community, that are working focused towards kids. It's knowing who I want to sit with and who I want to be at the table with. That's important also.
I want to add, it says like,
please,
within your team, like how to find my place within the team. I just think adding value to people.
Yeah.
Adding value and helping in any way is like, and inviting people into, like you said, your whatever you're doing. You want to do something fun, invite people into it. Share yourself, and adding value to people is what like gets them to like, I think, realize that you're valuable and worthy part of the team, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, and just your time, like you said.
But I think to that question, babe, like this idea of adding value is remembering that your ordinary is someone else's extraordinary. Yes. That you might wonder, like, well, what can I add? And then you have really great organizational skills that might be able to help someone, really great decorating skills that might be able to help someone, really great.
Well,
like you can synthesize
that's part
things.
of an education. Well, I would hope that would be part of an educational team, is like filling in each other's like areas. Yes. Like for someone who has a strength in one area, a weakness in another, we're like supporting. So I think kind of going at it in that avenue to find out where you can fill in and help and be of value. And sometimes I think making sure that you're just speaking up enough, right? Like, because you yourself is valuable. You don't have to actually do anything or something for someone else, but you have value to add. So just adding your voice, I think making sure that that's happening is good advice.
Amen, wife.
All right, Laura is next. She's asking, what are you most looking forward to at Get Your Teach On this year? So wish I could go this year. I've been in the past, and it's quite a trip.
So I know it's
fun. You've never been, so
I've
it's exciting.
never
It always
been.
seems so like such a crazy fun party.
Like
I
there's
remember
celebrities that are going to be there,
but
and
I
like
remember looking into it for you, and I realized, oh, it's actually just like elementary school. Like it wasn't for high school, middle school. Is middle school new for them? I know high school.
Yeah, middle
is.
school and high school. Is
yeah,
new
so
for
it
them.
was never a thing that you could participate in, really.
Yeah,
this is the first one, so it's exciting. Do you have one thing in
it
particular?
is. So I think the thing that I'm the most stoked about is what's kind of been conveyed to us so far in meetings and such is that this is unlike most like conventions or events, in that the teachers really want to be there. Where like if I speak somewhere, there's a really good chance that most people are going out of obligation. They don't really want to be there. They don't really want to sit through another speaker or something like that. But this is something that people sign up for that really want to be there. So I'm excited to see what that feels like, where everyone that's in the room is a willing participant. And I've had that to some extent before, but like never feels like that in totality, right? The other thing is, I'll be honest with you, is meeting a lot of the people that are there. I'm so stoked, like whether they're people that I know online that watch us at Real Rap with Reynolds and that are going to be there, that I love meeting people in person. And it's a lot of the folks that are speaking and presenting there that I've never met in real life that I love doing that too. It's really something kind of incredible to see someone 2-dimensional and then you see them 3-dimensional, like, man, look, you're like taller than I thought or shorter than I thought, or you know, oh, you really do that. And like who people are in real life is sometimes different than, it's like that kind of like, are you going to be different than you are online? Are you the same thing as you are online? Like, so that's interesting to me too. What happened? Lose it?
It does this. Sometimes it does it. Sometimes
it does this thing where it jumps.
Yeah, so I can get back to it, but I'm trying to find. Oh, here it is. It's Andrea over on Facebook is asking, and I believe it's a 2-parter. She's saying teachers have not been given contracts yet at my school, and our last day is this Thursday. We are likely receiving contracts this Wednesday, pending the board approves the budget. I love supporting my students and teaching, but I'm only a second-year SPED teacher and must work well outside contracted hours in order to be effective. I refuse to be ineffective. The increasing challenging student behaviors, along with the lack of staffing and inadequate time, have teachers at their breaking point. And let me find the next one. Actually, I'm going to just jump over here. She's saying, I would find ways to increase opportunities to respond OTR in class, increase opportunities for high probability responses. This would allow you to increase. Oh, wait, maybe that's a. I see. There is no time to be a functioning human being and give this job all the love and attention it deserves. I'm a wife and mom of 3 kids, and my family deserves some of the best of me too. I am planning to not sign my contract this year, and my husband is supportive. But what next? Where do I go from here? So it doesn't all fit on the screen there, but it does here.
Such good questions every time.
Yeah. So she's not coming back at all into the world of teaching
this year,
or this coming year.
I don't know that she knows what's next, but it sounds like she isn't coming back to teaching at that school next year. Okay. I don't know that. It didn't sound like that was off the table. Okay. Here's the thing.
No, she just started. She's
in the last year. Really, this is just in the last year. I came to the conclusion that I'll no longer ever. So my life is basically split between school and family. Largely. I mean, Real Rap with Reynolds is a whole nother aspect, but like on a given day, it's these 2 things. And Real Rap with Reynolds has always taken a 3rd seat anyway. Like that, I will never.
We've never been able to give Real Rap with Reynolds what we really want, because our family comes first and your job came first.
So here's how I think of it, Andrea, is that I was telling a friend that my excitement for next year is around this, because they were like, well, what are you going to do that's different on YouTube? And I said, I recently had to, my phone was at capacity for my memory, and I have tons of memory on my phone. But I realized that I was doing this dumb thing where it was saving all my videos and pictures twice. Anyway, when you look at like your storage, your capacity on your phone, that yellow video and phone, if this is how much time or this is how much space I had on my phone, this much was taken up by photo and video, right? Like 90% of it. So when I erased it, the memory I had tons of memory. So if I think about next year for our business, that's 90% of my time opens up to be able to do more stuff. That's unbelievable. So here's what I'm getting at. I decided this year that I would never put 55% into school of my energy and 50% into my family. They had to be dead even. I wanted to come home at the end of the day and still be 100% for my kids. I needed to give them their fair cut, my wife, her fair cut, even my dog, and now my cat, like fair cut of who I am. I didn't want you to have to deal with sad dad or depleted dad or overwhelmed dad or anxious dad. Like, when my students were getting this version of me, like me being on fire, I needed to be that for my kids. So I had to figure out ways this year in which to do that. It's not easy. So I hear what you're saying. So that means, if that means sometimes that the lessons are less than that, so the lessons are actually never less than. So what I think about is mind share, right? What am I putting my mental and physical energy into? And it was looking at all the things that were asked of me. And I just didn't do the stuff that was not important because I needed that mind share. I needed some of that capacity, some of that battery power to be able to go into home. So it was like trying to get as optimized, systematized, and automated as possible so that I could show up as the best version of myself in both of these areas, right? So that's kind of, what I'm thinking about. I think we can overcomplicate things, and we can also look at like all that there is to be done, right? There's so much that needs to be done, especially when you're working with students that don't fit into traditional schooling because they have learning differences. Because even though we say no child left behind, we leave a damn lot of kids behind, or we don't help kids in ways that they need to be helped. So then, like I've talked about before, then you get kids in 9th grade on kindergarten and 2nd grade reading level, right? It's like they've been wronged by the system. So it's me figuring out how much I can do to be a part of the solution. I can't always be the solution, but I can lend my hand. I am rowing my side of the boat. I need somebody else to help. And so it's trying to figure out that community in school and stuff like that too. I'll say this though, Andrea, one of, I've shouted this dude out before, but it's worth doing again. My buddy, Dave Dunsavage, is an assistant principal at a school. When I tell you that he puts teachers first over everything, when he cares about kids on such an unbelievable level, he's willing to say yes to things that teachers want to do, even if he's pretty sure they're going to fail, right? Like he hasn't said that to me, but like that's the absolute sense that I get, is that Dave is about kids. And so, and the way to help kids is to support teachers like through and through. So if you're looking to go to another school, I think what you really have to look at is leadership. Leadership is everything. Leadership is the difference between great schools and even good schools. Like you can have a pretty good school. I've had pretty good times in my school when I haven't had good leadership because I've just white knuckled it. But damn, it's so much easier when you have great leadership. So it's like, that's why I say, like, when you interview at a school, you have to interview your school and make sure that their values align with yours. And because that changes everything. I think I answered that.
I think so.
Okay. Best of luck to you too. I know that's not easy to like make that decision.
Well, there's a lot of, not even just the decision alone, but a lot of people in the chat are like, it's familiar to them, that feeling of like coming home and being drained and not having anything for fiancés, for loved ones that are in their real life.
Even
like,
for you.
Right. Not that's not real life. I don't mean that, but I'm just saying like Yeah, like it's the same sentiment that you cannot give, but that's what's going to cause. I even see it in our group. I think I said it to somebody. I commented on a thread, and I see the same things over and over, whether it's here in questions or in our group or in teachers. They're just exhausted by it, and
Right.
my
Keep
thought
going.
about that is the educational system is so broken for new teachers that come in constantly and try and play by all the rules. They just burn out, quit, and leave, right? They think you can't do it. It's everybody else who stays is like has a superpower. And it's like, no, they don't have a superpower, but they figure out how to play in the system. It's a system. You have to figure out how to like, I'm going to do this, not do this, not do that. I think that's the only way to really survive for teachers in the educational space, because they're going to ask, it's going to be forever until you're dead. They just ask and ask and take it.
100% right. Because there's two things there. One, we live in a culture that fetishizes, teachers being martyrs. You have to give it all in the field. You have to come home. If you're coming home with energy, you didn't give it all at the classroom, right? And I just don't think that's right. And we literally, as when teachers are first year teachers and you've never lifted weights before, we put 200 pounds on the barbell and then we go bench press it. What do you mean you can't do it? Give it your all or die trying. And it's like, I just go like this.
Let it kill you.
I just go like this. I used to look when no one was looking and change the weights, right? Now I go, oh, hey, I keep talking to you. Eye contact we're doing it. And I'm just changing the weight. I ain't lifting this. I can't. I can't do it, right? What I want to be able to do is show up and give what I've got. But if I don't got anything, I can't give it. And I'm not being a martyr. It's showing up like, what if you put yourself first?
I mean, that's the way we're supposed to. That's what the airlines say.
Then, yes, you put your family second. It's you, then your family, then your school. What does your life look like if you do that? You will still have a job, I promise you, because you will show up as a better version of yourself, having loved yourself, poured into yourself, given yourself what you needed. Then the overflow of that love and enthusiasm and excitement and passion that you have there overflows into your family, right? First into your spouse, then into your kids, right? Then you're going to school like that. Then you get to come home to that where everything's like awesome anyway. Like instead of school will take all of your time and energy if you let it, right? And it's not the only job that does that. There's tons of jobs, and I realize people are wired differently and stuff like that.
But it's teaching that everybody thinks it's okay to do because it's for students, and that's just not.
And you
fair
look at people like,
you
don't work
have your
16-hour days. You don't work 16-hour days. Why not? Oh, you left at the bell? Yeah, because I wanted to get home and take my daughter fishing after school. Oh, well, I stayed 3 hours yesterday and did lesson plan. We've just normalized that sort of fetish, and it's not healthy. I won't even say it's wrong.
Yeah, that narrative, that teacher narrative has been, gets,
and that being said, when I was allowed to go into school, when no one was there, dude, how often we were at school on Saturdays?
Oh,
I love it because it filled me up. I loved being at school and decorating and changing my room, getting stuff ready. Yeah, so that when they came in on Monday, they were like, "What?"
Family. Our whole kids.
My kids would bring their big wheels up to school and just ride around the hallways and stuff. Marley learned to skateboard in my school's hallway, so it's like that filled me up. So it's not just not being at school if that's what you need, but it is getting away from this obsession with teachers have to be martyrs. Teachers have to burn themselves out. Teachers have to give everything.
I would say,
and then show up dead at home.
That's for us, as what we do for Real Rap with Reynolds. That's a very big mission. It's I want to flip that narrative for teachers. Yep. It's no, you're not there to kill yourself and be a martyr for not even the students. And I know it's all about the students, and it is when you are there during the day in class and doing your job. But when you come home, you should be able to come home and pour into yourself, into your family, into your children, into your community.
The question is, if I do that hard enough, will my hair go back to black from gray?
I don't think so, but I
No.
really like you with gray hair, so
Thanks,
I wouldn't
girl.
want to go. We watched a
Your
whole
man
bunch
needs
of
a haircut right now, but
You do.
my barber's on vacation. How dare she?
I don't think you get to. Is she a barber when you're?
For me, she is.
Okay.
I mean, I did used to go to get my hair done by her at a place called Glamour Me Bridal, where I was the only male customer. It looks like the Kardashians ran a salon. Anyway, what you got?
You have more questions?
Give me another one, because
Okay.
I'm going long on all these today, but I feel like it's needed.
Linda will be happy that she's up next. All right. Hi, CJ and Not So Secret Wife. Hello. My students do not want to learn or do any work anymore, and it's demotivating and dragging me down. How would you keep going or change it up in the classroom?
So I read what is needed, right? So we do what's needed. If kids are at their capacity, look, I realize that 10 months of school is a lot. It's a lot of schooling for 8 hours to 10 hours a day, right? So if at the end of the year you're feeling tired, let's split it, right? So it's like, I will give kids options. I'll give kids projects. I'll get things that they can move at their own pace. I will allow students I'll say, hey, look, if we can work for the first 20 minutes of class, the last 15 minutes class, we'll do this. And then we do something else that's fun, that's outside, that's an activity. But we need to get this done. If we get this done, it should only take us 20 minutes, and then we can go do this activity that I have for today. It doesn't have to be every single day you're doing this kind of stuff. I give kids a lot more work where they're in charge. So it's like they are the ones that are reading and answering questions or doing an activity or whatever it is that they're doing. It's more self-directed so that it doesn't come down to the show. But then the moments where I'm doing the show, I make sure I'm on 11, and then I switch over and say, all right, today, this is what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. So that's some of it too. And some of it's just changing my language. And I've talked about this before, where there's this idea of letting kids know, hey, look, all we have to do today is just, we're going to read and do these questions. And I have to show you a video and we're going to talk about it. That's all we're doing. So even if it's a lot, if I just change my language and go, guys, all we have to do today is just this, that, I don't know, it works for some reason, but yeah.
Do you want to do another?
But don't beat a dead horse. Let's do another one.
All right. Paris. I hope that's your name. That's a great name. Is asking, what do you do if kids don't turn in a summative project? Kids and parents have known about this project for over a month, and I made materials available for the kids.
I think that depends, Paris. So I either just give 0 because I don't play. But if I know you have something going on, or if I think that you still doing it, you're going to glean more value from that than the 0. So I'm looking for value, right? Is someone going to learn more life lesson because you got a 0? You didn't do it. Now you have a 0 and there's no makeups, right? Now, what if you're going to fail for the year? That's a slightly different conversation. Then maybe we figure out some way that you can still do it. But if it's just going to bring your grade down, then take your loss like a boss. If I see that a kid is trying to get out of it or is struggling. So I'll say this, my senior year of high school, I took college English, and I didn't do the final project. I just didn't do it. It got overwhelming feeling to me. I had too many other things going on, and I had serious case of senioritis. So I didn't do it. And I remember Mr. Zeck, at Camden County Vocational and Technical School, which was my high school, pulled me aside and was like, why didn't you do the project? And I explained to him, and he was like, you're going to do the project. And I was like, what? And then he broke it down, and he basically was like, all you have to do is this, 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 and this. And I was like, oh, well, I could do that. All right. So this weekend you're going to do it, and you're not going to show up on Monday without the project. Do you understand? And I was like, yes. So I did it, and I didn't do well, but I got a C. I passed the class. I got my credits and everything. That has stayed with me for all these years, where I have kids that are like that now. And I go, this is what Mr. Z did, or Mr. Zeck rather, did. So that's kind of how I look at things now. So it's really looking at, what is the lesson this kid needs to learn in this? Do they need to learn about grace? Do they need to learn about sympathy and empathy? Do they need to learn about second chances? Do they need to learn about getting one-on-one help and learning how to advocate for yourself, or do they need to learn about losing? Learn about I am about my word. I will do what I said I was going to do, which is you're good at 0 if you didn't do this. What does that kid need? And sometimes that takes not just you, that takes like some input from other people too that are in your school. Like, so maybe there's a counselor, other teachers, like you might have to talk to them first, see maybe there's some things going on that you don't know about. But like once you make that fully informed decision, it's helping the kid to learn something.
Are we done, or you want to keep going?
Do you have one more?
There's always lots more.
All right, let's do one more.
Okay. Well, great. You got a 2-parter from Miss Gonzalez. She's asking, my room is long and skinny and quite large. We have big tables, and if I don't put the tables in groups with 30 plus kids and projects everywhere, there's just not enough space. I would like to implement some sort of team management within each class next year to help promote camaraderie and also get them to take more ownership. What are your thoughts?
Yep. In an effort, like I was talking about, Miss Gonzalez, is to, when I think about automating, systematizing, and my classroom, it is, I grade so little work now unless it requires, like if anyone can do it, then someone else should do it. Then I shouldn't do it. If anyone else can hand out papers, I'd ask myself this question. Can anyone else hand out papers? Then I shouldn't do it. Can anyone else organize the desks and pick up trash? Then I shouldn't do it. Can anyone else like erase the board, wash the board, take things down to the copy machine, sometimes copy things for me? Can someone else organize my papers and put them in the right folder so I know when to hand them back? Can anyone else like do just about anything, right? Well, the question I have to ask myself is, if anyone can do it, then I shouldn't do it, because I have enough other things to do, and it allows me to do those things so much better if that's what I'm focusing on. So a way that we create ownership, because I'll tell you what, you have kids that clean up your room every day. They get pissed as hell when people leave their stuff laying around, when they don't put things back. When someone's in charge of organizing and they can't leave class until all of my markers and color pencils and all things are in the right jar. And I'm big on details. So like, don't just put all of my, so I can tell that my children were using my color pencils, because all color pencils go point down, and they all have to be going like, so they have to all go the same way. Same thing with markers, right? So typically in this, it's a little bit different because I can't see the bottoms. I have clear containers at school. All the markers go like this, because then they dry out faster this way, and you got to wait for them and shit like that. I don't have time for that. So my guys know that exactly how I want stuff, and you can't, though, those aren't all right. Like, or I need those put together in a certain way. They get aggravated at other kids. And it's a righteous anger too. So I don't even worry that they're aggravated about it, because it's like, hey, you didn't do the thing. You didn't put your desk back. Now I got to fix it. It is giving ownership over as many things as you can in your classroom. And that frees up bandwidth for you. And now you're doing less things. Because listen, as a first year teacher, I, after every class, picked up all the trash, collected all the papers, organized all the papers, straightened all the desks out, wiped off my board, set it up for the next class. But when I have other people doing that, when I learned how to delegate, it builds ownership for students. It takes more things off my plate so I can do the things that are on my plate better. So I think we'll leave it there. I'm feeling the energy right now, so I can keep going and going and going. But
and let's welcome Miss Caitlin is new. Someone just said that they just found us and popped in, and both her and her husband are teachers.
Well, awesome. I love it. Can you imagine if we both taught?
No, I do. I mean, I'm a homeschool teacher. I don't know. You're just trying to tell me that I'm not a teacher?
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. You don't dress business casual.
I certainly don't.
You wear that mom jure all day of old school t-shirts.
Whatever I can find, and just keep going because my life is busy.
So listen, gang, before you go, I have one ask of you. If you could please like this video and subscribe. What that's going to do is help us to get into the algorithm and help more teachers, right? We don't charge anything for the show. We just want to try and help people. Hitting the like button, hitting subscribe puts us in the algorithm, which is why
Caitlin
and her husband just saw us, probably because it just shows up as suggested on there. So if you could do that, it would mean the world to us. And then look, we are taking a bit of a hiatus after this. So next weekend's Memorial Day weekend here in the United States.
This is our summer break from Rap With Reynolds. We get 1 month.
June, we're taking off, which is so funny thing we're taking off because I still have to finish school. And then if I did all the things I had to do in the end of June, it would be literally within a span of a week going from Atlanta to Orlando to New Orleans back to Orlando and going to Colorado. Like that's just in like a week and a half.
That's our June.
That's my month off is doing all that stuff. So there's a lot coming up, but then we're going to be back July 10th, which is like when some folks are starting to gear back. Us in the North, we won't go back till after Labor Day, but we know that y'all in the South go to back to school much, much earlier than everyone else. But that's why you're also off right now. And so that's where we're going. So we'll be back July 10th. And who knows, we might pop in. I don't know. I have a hard time not being around.
We'll be in the Facebook group. So if you're not Caitlin, if like for anybody else who's new here,
Yes.
Our Facebook group, we have a private Facebook group. It's all teachers and educators. It's literally such a wonderful, positive space. I monitor it, and there's very little monitoring I have to do because it's such a great space.
Literally, now I read. I go in the Facebook group to read, but I don't engage that much because that's not one of those
Just
things
so
that's
busy,
capacity, right? It is literally, I don't know a Facebook group that's better than ours. And that's not a competition thing.
No, people say it all the time. And it has nothing to do with us.
No, it's just like,
it's not us.
Like, you know what I'm waiting for?
It's the community of people that we've pulled together.
You know what we need to happen? Someone in the Facebook group needs to get married. That's what we need to have.
We need a real Rap With Reynolds.
We created a space where someone got together.
There's great friendships and connections.
If you're thinking about it, if you fell in love with someone, I'm making this weird now. I will officiate your wedding.
Oh my goodness. It's time for us to get off live.
Is it? I'm promising the world now. So that's all you have to do. Marry someone in the Facebook group and I'll officiate your wedding. Yeah. So yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah, we'll see everybody June or July 10th for season 6
of
all of this.
Or before then, if you're in Orlando and you go to get your teach on, I'll be there this summer. And
Tracy said she's going to be in New Orleans, so I wonder if you know why she's going to be in New Orleans.
Is she going to Mardi Gras?
Well, the thing that you're not supposed to talk about that if we're not so sure if you're there yet.
Trace, I may or may not be a part of that activity, but I'm waiting for them to just sign the hell off on it so I can tell people, but I'm working on it. And I love that event. So that's it, gang. Guys, I love this so much every Sunday. It fills my soul up and it gives me energy and I just am so excited. I hope that for those of you that have already finished the year, that it is a great summer already. For the rest of you, I hope that you have the most special, fantastic, fulfilling summer of your lives. And we'll see you back here July 10th.
Woohoo!
That's it, gang.
Peace out, everybody.
Oh, wait, I didn't have the thing ready. Let me do it again.
Oh, goodness.
Peace.